How about you? I'm Hank. Welcome to Hamiltonville Farm. Today I've got 900 years of experience with me to try to fix this John Deere 310 backhoe. I've got 850 of it right here, and then between me and Brandel, we've got the other 50 years.
No.
And
Ain't that old, Hank? I'm old, but...
Oh Lord! But hey, so we're going to try to bleed the system today. We're going to see if the fuel pump, the high pressure fuel pump, is actually getting voltage to it. If that's not getting voltage to it or current to it, then we'll figure out that. And then if it is, then we'll try to bleed the system. That's what we're going to try to do. But we're trying to make it logical. I was talking to Brandel and Sonny about this, and we were saying, okay, let's try to do it step by step. So from the tank to the fuel filter, from the fuel filter to the low pressure pump, from the low pressure pump to the high pressure pump, and just step by from A to B to C, C to D, and so forth. Because I think if we use a logical approach to this, and if it's something mechanical like it, we're going to find out if it needs a fuel pump or not, then that will help eliminate some of the things that we need to troubleshoot. So a more logical approach and something besides a crescent wrench.
I like that.
It's not going to prime itself. Let's go ahead and get started. This is the fuel pump here. It's a Stanodyne. Standodyne. Stanodyne. That's a hard word for me to say.
Numbers right there. Yeah. We need to get that.
This is where the wire comes in over on the back side of it right here. We're going to test that right quick to see if it's actually going to have a current to it. So we'll check that. Of course, I've got a charged battery over here. We'll go ahead and put the charged battery on it.
Hank, the good thing is we've got an empty Gatorade bottle. So, I mean,
I'm sure they have fuel in it at some point.
That's it, right? I like when he does all the heavy lifting.
No, I got one. I got this one, and then I've got one that's in reserve in case this one goes dead. It's gonna have to go in like so. Yeah, we'll clean these up for Brandel. Of course, got to get the terminals clean.
I said if he sticks around me long enough, these batteries are going to be whittled down to where there's not going to be anything that exists for them. Let's look right here. Have we looked at this fuse?
I think we've checked all the fuses.
About this glass fuse.
No, I haven't checked that. Let me know when you're ready.
It jumped a little bit, but try to turn it over. This spark in here, it's not on that side now.
Yeah, I just got a new filter, but
I think we did put a new filter on it. I think that was my first attempt at, the simple things to try to fix.
Yeah.
All right, what we're talking about is trying to prime the system post electrical, I guess you would say.
Yeah, so because I'm just not sure. Like all my experience is in unit injection. So like this injector pump, I have no concept about, right? So I'm going to like Google the Stanodyne pump just to see what exactly the theory of operation, whether we put 12 volts here and it opens it or closes it. If it's normally open, normally closed, whatever. However, this is the inlet to the fuel pump. This is the return or the overflow from the injectors. Of course, these are the four, lines, the 4 lines to the injector. So essentially, if we had a line here to the fuel pump, from a bucket or from our sure can of diesel, then we would know, we could get this, we could get primed and good to go to see if we could get fuel, to see if we have fuel coming out of these 4 injectors, essentially. So
Right.
To see.
We were also talking about, as I mentioned earlier in the video, about step by step, from point A to point B and all that stuff. Well, if we can get up to the lines here, then we can blow back. We can backtrack from that injector port or the inlet line back to the tank to make sure that there's no air in that part of the system as well.
Exactly.
But this
air or blockage, because I've worked on fuel systems where we've had like Teflon tape, have a restricted fitting in an orifice or a piece of dirt, dust, debris, leaf, whatever. Yeah. So basically, if we can start it here out of a bucket, then we'll know that there's something back.
That's right. Yep. And hopefully that's the easy part.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
You see that? You see how like eaten up that is?
Yeah.
So that doesn't look great. I think if we had a 15 millimeter socket.
A socket 15.
A socket, yeah.
Okay.
I don't have man hands.
I got you. Now that we have this off and loosened, we look at that. That's horrible. Let me see if I can get up close and personal for you. Look at that right there. I say it's seen its better days. That might be, that's definitely a contributing factor, I would think. So we'll put a connection on there, here on this inlet, and put some fuel in it and see if we can't get something going on there.
So in our quest for Occam's razor, right? So simplest explanation. So right here is going to be the outlet and return to the fuel tank. So here the hose is that goes to the fuel pump, to the hand pump. So now if we come over here, here's the hand primer pump, right? This is the hose that was right over here at the tank. Watch this. That's not good. So that's definitely going to suck some air too.
Yeah.
So I would say definitely we need to, do something with that fitting for sure. But really the only components are going to be tank line to here, this fuel pump. From here, this is the inlet to the fuel pump. This is the outlet, comes around to here, fuel filter, then the outlet here, around the back of the head, up to the high pressure fuel pump.
Right.
So really, that's our only system in this. So really, what we could do, Hank, what we were talking about, where I said it'd be nice if we had a filter base. Really, we can take this line off here, take that line off there. Because really, we're going to need to do something with the inlet to the high pressure fuel pump.
Yeah, of course.
Whether that's replace that line or replace the gaskets or whatever, however that's going to come. But really, this filter base just bolts right here. So really, we could undo these two bolts and then just have this filter base in our hands over on that other side. So that way we can approximate the fuel system. So I think that might be a good way to start too.
All right. Well, let's do that then.
Is that nut on there? Is it tight?
Yeah, the nut's tight. So that's what I was going to do. I was going to grab a wrench, but I think what it is, I think it might be because these are basically. It seems like that these are plumbing style fittings, where they're compression fittings. Yeah. So I think that maybe the rubber in that compression fitting might be worn out. Mm-hmm. So and again, like you said, Sonny, it's just sucking air here. It's maybe sucking air over there.
Yeah, and I'll end up getting new lines for that.
On that other side.
Well, and maybe this one from the fuel tank to the low pressure pump.
Yeah.
Because if that fitting's loose, it probably needs to be replaced anyway.
I think so.
Well, we're about to find out here in a minute.
Yeah. So see, that's what the grommets are supposed to look like. Mm-hmm. Even that's a little bit worn right in there.
Sure.
Yep.
See, this one is probably in good shape because it's still holding in the nut. Well, you can see it's maybe not the best. It's not wanting to pump anything.
So
out.
if that's not on the high lobe or high,
that shouldn't matter. This pump, this hand pump, even if it's sitting out here in my hand, it should still pump.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because some of them are designed to be on the lobe of the.
It is. So it's driven by the cam lobe.
Okay.
But even if it's not, even if it's not in the lobe or whatever, like this pump could be like you could have it. You could do like a fuel cart, right? If you're doing like engine overhauls or whatever, all the time, you could mount this pump in theory on like a little fuel cart and then sit there and pump it, to prime systems too. So I think that this may be
bad too.
Yeah, some issue too. Let me see. I'm gonna see if we can. Nope. I get close, but we can't. So that's an 11/16. So that's probably a 5/8 or 9/16 there. So not a 9/16.
What's your wrenches gonna smell like?
Going to smell like diesel fuel, man. Whew.
Still,
see,
yeah,
it's still
loose,
yeah. So like crank it. I think that's all the way against the fitting. and it's still loose.
That's going to need to be replaced.
Yeah, which it's nice because it's just an open end on that side.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it ain't nice because I don't like spending money.
Well,
you guys have to buy some Hamiltonville Farm merch or something to help me out. Help me out with these 310. Or start me a 310 fund. Hopefully these ain't too expensive, you know, to replace these kind of parts.
That's it.
Of course, it does say John Deere on it, so they proud of that stuff. And then there's something. This right here is taped off of the. It's probably just a fuel gauge. Maybe.
Hopefully that's going to be a generic enough part
Right.
to where you can get that. Just either get this guy right here replaced, or just be able to buy the end for it.
Yeah.
So a little mechanic pro tip: if you need some extra leverage when you're trying to break something loose, do the old double wrench trick. Oh.
Ooh, and something sparked.
Yeah, it sure did. What was that? Something up here, wasn't it?
That's that switch box right there hanging loose there.
That's a starter solenoid.
Oh, yeah. There we go. That's handy to have there, ain't it?
Right beside the fuel system. It's always nice to have.
Yeah, I love having sparks next to open fuel systems. You set me up, Hank. Uh-oh.
What gasoline?
Just look how many bare spots are on that wire.
That's what I'm saying. It's just
So that's the fuel filter.
Yeah.
bucket for it.
Just take this thing apart. Oh, look at that.
We're making progress, dude.
Yeah, we're finding all kinds of fun stuff, ain't we?
Get some of that pressure washer in the can stuff.
This stuff works great.
Of course it does. It's made in America.
Man, look at that. I don't know what this is, but it's dirt all the way down in that tube. If you can see the dark color.
I can see it. So we got the fuel filter off. Now we're going to clean it. We got some gunk part cleaner kit here. Oh, you got a screwdriver? In the bath it goes. It don't take long either. That stuff works quick. So yesterday we went and got the rubber grommets for all the fuel lines. I went to the John Deere place and got them. I got 8. They were $29. Oh my goodness. 8 of them, $29. Anyway, so the plan is to get all the new rubber grommets put on. Like these fittings, this fitting. Everywhere that there's a metal fitting, we're going to put the new rubber grommets. I think there's like 5 total. Once we get the rubber grommets put on, what we're going to do is we're actually going to make a fuel pump. I ordered a 12-volt fuel pump, and I'm going to actually run the fuel from the fuel can to the fuel pump and see if we can prime the system that way. This one is already loose, so I don't need that one.
Bad too.
Yeah.
Rest place on it.
There you go. Just pop right on. That's good. Alright, so that one's on. Now we got to take this one off and do the same thing. We're going to do these to all the fittings. We've come around to the other side of the engine now. And we'll do this side. I got to take the old rubber grommets off of here. I got to use a pick. Both sides have to be done. Alright, now that the grommets are off this, we'll add 2 new ones. Let me explain to you guys what's going on. Yesterday when I went to the John Deere store to buy all those rubber grommets, I took this fuel filter base with me and I said, hey, I need a barb to fit on here like so or whatever. Fitted me with this to the fuel filter. Well, I don't need the fuel filter. That's where the metal lines go. What I needed to go to was the primer pump here. This is where the fuel line comes in from the tank to here. Then you pump it up with this lever right here. And this metal line carries the fuel to the fuel filter here. So I need to take this back and get a coupling or a barb to fit that so that I can put that fuel line back on. What we're going to do now is just put this fuel filter base back on because we can hook the lines up to it. We're not going to tighten anything down yet, but we're going to put it back onto the side of the block, the metal fuel lines back into it, and then we got to run to Cloud Auto and get another barb or another fitting to fit the fuel primer pump. I wish I wouldn't have forgot that because I rode around town yesterday and I was out all day today. No, well, life goes on, right? we got all the lines put on. So now we're going to go buy the right part. You know, this is the little barb. This is the right. This is a fix, I guess you would say. And it's not the right part, but it is a fix. But we put it on the wrong part. We put it on the fuel filter part instead of the fuel primer part. Now we got to go get that fixed. And we're going to run that back up Cloud Auto. Get it the right stuff. And then come back and then put the 12-volt fuel pump on it. And then start priming the system. All right, we just got back from Cloud Auto. This is the contraption we came up with that's going to work here. Put the fuel line in here. This part will go back into the fuel primer pump, and we should be good after we install this. All right, we're going to see if that's going to work. So here's the line that we made. Everything seems to be tight, so I don't know. We'll see. We got that little 12-volt pump. So what we're going to do now, we blew the air through the lines here. We're going to fill up this filter full of fuel and then run this line here with a 12-volt fuel pump out of that fuel can right there. Sonny got to hold his mouth right to get the fuel filter in there.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. If you can turn it, I'm going to hold the bottom of it.
Everything is tightened down on this side. We'll move to the other side and at least get the line into the fuel pump and then start bleeding it from here. All right, we got the hose in the fuel can, got our pump, got our switcher. Got the switcher. Okay. Let's go see. We're going to start cracking them open. All right, we're going to start with this one. Go ahead. Nothing yet. Is that thing running?
Yeah, running.
Oh, there it is. I can hear the air in it. Supposed to be able to crack that thing back a little quicker, I would think. See the air in it? Getting the bubbles out of it. But I'm tightening it. Keep going.
I got it.
There you go. There you go. Steady flow. What we're going to do is we're going to hook that 12-volt fuel pump over there to a different battery. We're going to put a battery on this one, and then we're going to bleed it while we're turning the engine over and see if that works. So if this doesn't work, then it's possibly a bad cutoff switch or a bad fuel pump. So let's try this one first. It'd be nice if I got the right size wrench. All right, go ahead. There, keep going. All right, you can see fuel cut. So we're getting fuel to the injector lines. So that's a good sign. Now we just got to get it where it ain't. See the, I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but there's bubbles there. All right, let's do it again. All right, go ahead.
Okay.
We'll just get them each flowing, and then we'll come back and do them.
Oh, yeah.
All right. All right, go ahead. Let me run down what we did. So we're getting fuel from the fuel tank, which is our can, to the primer pump, from the primer pump to the fuel filter, from the fuel filter to the high injecting fuel pump. And then we bled all that air out of that. And then we bled the air from the injector lines that go into the cylinders. So out of the fuel pump into the cylinder. We're getting white smoke when we crank it over, and it does run off ether. So with that being said, maybe there's not enough pressure coming out of the fuel pump. That might be an issue, because when I crack those lines open, they just kind of dribbled out. I don't know if they're supposed to like shoot out with a lot of pressure or not, because they're not. Maybe be a timing issue, but from what people have said and what I have read, jumping timing is rare, but it does happen. So it's got compression, it's getting fuel. I don't know, I'm stumped. But I'm thinking that the fuel pump, and I was talking to my buddy Matt over at WRM Excavation, and I've also been talking to Wes from the channel Watch Wes Work. I think the fuel pump is just not putting out enough fuel. I don't think it's enough fuel pressure, I should say. So I don't know what we're going to do next. I think maybe we could try to bench test the fuel pump. I don't know. I can't wait to read the comments because I'm sure you guys will have a lot of good ideas for me. It's not the carburetor, all right? Well, I've had people say, hey, have you checked your carburetor? I'm telling you, I promise. I've got comments like that. And I think, man, I'm not a very good mechanic, but I know it don't have a carburetor on it. Anyway, with that being said, hey, we're just gonna keep. We know the system now don't have air in it, and so that's a good thing. Now we're just gonna keep picking at it. We may look at a wiring diagram to see if it's a wiring issue somewhere, but the engine should run. I don't know. This thing has got me stumped, guys. This thing has got me stumped. Anyway, hey, I appreciate you guys. God bless. We'll catch you on the next one.